Imagine waking up tomorrow. Every crypto wallet still exists. Every app still loads, but the data behind it is gone. No transaction history, no records, no proof. The numbers are still there, but without the past, they mean nothing. Crypto was built on a quiet promise that most people never questioned. The promise was not decentralization. It was not freedom. It was memory. From the very first block, crypto taught the world to believe that the past could never be lost. Every transaction mattered because it stayed forever. Every decision became permanent. That permanence created confidence, and confidence created value. People trusted the system not because it was human, but because it remembered better than humans ever could. Now imagine, that memory is gone. Not corrupted, not manipulated, not hacked, simply erased. Your wallet still opens, the interface still loads, a balance still appears, but there is no origin story behind it, no trace of how that value arrived, no confirmation that it existed yesterday. The system cannot explain itself, and neither can you. At that moment, crypto stops being technology and becomes philosophy. Because a system without memory cannot explain truth. It can only display numbers, and numbers without history are just symbols asking to be believed. People like to say that ownership in crypto is simple. If you control the private key, you own the asset. That sentence sounds powerful, but it only works in a world where history exists. Ownership is not just access. Ownership is legitimacy. It is the ability to prove that value belongs to you and not to someone else. Proof requires reference. Reference requires memory. In a world where crypto data is gone, disputes become unsolvable by design. Two people can claim the same value, and the system has no past to judge them. Not because it is unfair, but because it is blind. Blind systems do not enforce truth. They dissolve it. When legitimacy disappears, possession becomes temporary, access becomes meaningless, and the idea of ownership collapses into personal belief. At that point, crypto is no longer a ledger. It is a rumor people argue over. Crypto was never truly trustless. It simply moved trust away from institutions and placed it into continuity. People trusted that yesterday was real, that the chain was unbroken, that the system would remember what humans forget. When data disappears, trust does not weaken slowly. It vanishes instantly. Exchanges freeze not because of panic, but because logic fails. Validators stop because there is nothing left to validate against. Smart contracts halt because conditions cannot be confirmed. This is not chaos yet. This is paralysis. A system without memory cannot move forward because it cannot define what forward even means. Time itself loses direction inside the system, and when time collapses, decision-making collapses with it. Most people believe crypto has value because it is scarce. That belief is comforting but incomplete. Scarcity only matters when people agree on what is scarce and why it matters. That agreement is built over time. It is reinforced by records. It is protected by continuity. Value does not live inside the coin. It lives inside agreement. When the link between yesterday and today breaks, price becomes meaningless. Numbers still exist, but they no longer represent shared understanding. At that point, the question, is no longer how much something is worth. The question becomes whether it deserves trust at all. And once trust is questioned, value never fully recovers. This is where the darkness deepens. Crypto is not just money, it is identity. Wallets are reputations built over years of behavior, belief, and risk. They tell a story of who you were inside the system. When data disappears, identity disappears with it. There is no proof of contribution, no proof of honesty, no proof of experience. Everyone becomes unverified, not equal, unverifiable. Communities fracture because memory was the glue holding them together. Without memory, stories replace facts, narratives replace records, and narratives are easier to manipulate than data ever was. When records vanish, power rushes in to replace them. Humans cannot function without structure. Someone will step forward to rebuild the past. New histories will be proposed, new truths will be offered, and people will accept them, not because they are accurate, but because uncertainty is unbearable. This is where decentralization quietly dies, not through force, through relief. When people are desperate for stability, they stop asking who controls the system. They only ask whether it feels safe again. And whoever restores order becomes authority by default. This is the realization that changes everything. Crypto was never about coins. It was never about wallets. It was never about keys. It was about collective memory. The record was the asset. The moment the record disappears, freedom does not increase, control does. Because a future without memory always belongs to those who rewrite the past. Now take this one step further. Imagine a future where humans forget, but machines remember. Where AI systems rebuild history, not from truth, but from probability. Where missing data is replaced by generated memory. Digital amnesia becomes permanent. AI does not ask what happened. It calculates what most likely happened. And once probability replaces truth, reality becomes negotiable. In that world, whoever controls memory controls meaning. Whoever controls meaning controls behavior. And whoever controls behavior no longer needs force. If this stayed with you, it's because it touched something fragile. Leave a comment with the moment where your thinking shifted. Subscribe if you want ideas that don't offer comfort but clarity. And remember this: when memory disappears, truth becomes negotiable. And once truth is negotiable, everything else follows.